on a Getzen Capri model flugelhorn. It's quite an interesting instrument. It doesn't look quite like most flugelhorns you'll see in that the slides are actually horizontal rather than sort of they curve down vertically like this, but it allows you to have a manual adjustment sort of finger ring on the third slide, and there's also a trigger on the first slide, though it's a little weird because I'm used to having my thumb down here. It's got a tunable lead pipe like most flugelhorns. With my current mouthpiece setup, which is a Tenniswick 2 cornet mouthpiece on a trumpet adapter in a flugelhorn lead pipe, the lead pipe has to be pushed in all the way, but if you use an actual flugelhorn mouthpiece, you should be able to pull it out somewhat. Valve action is great, slide action is great, Getzens are pretty good with that sort of thing. I've been unable to figure out whether this end piece should be able to come off. There's a line there as if it should be able to, but it's seized in place, seemingly by corrosion. And looks like they had to use a hairband to keep the third slide from falling out. Getzen's never been one to make slide stoppers, which is unfortunate because their third slides are really, really smooth. But yeah, it's got Amato water keys, which work absolutely great. I've had a little bit of experience with Amato keys and they didn't work that well, but these work nicely. And yeah, overall, it's a fun instrument to play. Intonation's pretty awful in the high register, as you probably heard in the intro clip, but for middle register stuff, I think it sounds pretty nice. When you play this thing in the middle register, it sounds pretty good, and then once you get to high G, it's sort of iffy. And a lot of that's probably my mouthpiece setup. I just didn't really want to use the 7C that was provided with it, because that's just not my thing, as you would probably know. Especially in the low register where a flugelhorn is sort of supposed to stay. I decided I may as well mess around with the 7C off camera, and I realized that while it doesn't feel nearly as good on my face as the Tenniswick 2, it sounds a lot better in the high register. Still not very good, but that's just the nature of the flugelhorn being so conical. It's sort of just meant to stay in the staff and below it, not really meant to go above it at all. Of course, it wouldn't be a flugelhorn review without my favorite Flugelhorn Solo. You'll notice with the flugelhorn that it's a little bit harder to play than a traditional trumpet. That's just sort of how they are. You have to get used to them a lot. But when you approach it with enough warm air and you don't try and squeal notes out like you would on a trumpet, it really does sound quite nice. This is a nice instrument, especially considering that it belongs to a public school department. I think it's quite nice. A fun thing to do on flugelhorn that you really can't do as well on trumpet is pedal tones. Pedal tones just lock in a lot better on an instrument that's this conical. You'll notice it with low brass instruments where you don't really get anything quite as cylindrical as a trumpet, so even a small bore tenor trombone can do pedal tones pretty nicely, and this is sort of the same effect. The tone quality is still not great, but obviously this is not a top tier flugelhorn. This is just a really nice sort of student level one. But yeah, pedal tones are a lot nicer on these than they are on trumpets. Personally, I can't really do them with my new embouchure, so I have to sort of resort back to the old one, but it's still fun to do anyways, and it gives you a little bit of extra range if you want to show off during your solo, I guess. It really is a joy to play this thing. It's a lot of fun if you're looking for that really deep sort of mellow sound, and you're not looking into that sort of bright, harsh trumpet sound. It's a very different experience to play one of these, and it's been a long time since I've actually picked a flugelhorn up and played one. It's even more mellow than my cornet, which is already pretty darn mellow, and because of how conical the tubing is, it's a pretty different approach, and it takes some getting used to, but once you start to sort of get a feel for it, it's a lot of fun to play. So that was the Getzen Capri flugelhorn. Thanks for watching.